right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Ah, welcome everyone. Welcome to another night of Unapologetically Keith. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9:30 to 10:30. And here is where we have adult conversations, intellectual adult conversations, dealing with things that we know affect us in all different ways. Hey, Dana, how you doing tonight? Hope nobody gets roughed off tonight, Dana. But tonight we're going to cover a few things, but appreciate all you guys who tune in. You know, I am Keith. I'm your host, Keith K.L. Belvin. You're on time today. That's what I'm talking about, Dana. I am your host, Keith K.L. Belvin. I am a crisis specialist, author, as well as a person who just simply wants to see folks do better, and I'm going to use everything that I can to try to make that happen. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. And tonight, I hope you guys did your homework tonight. Hey, Jackie. What's up, darling? I hope you guys did your homework tonight. And that was to watch the video. I left the link in the description if you want to check it out on Instagram with the OG breaking down what the Central Time. Okay, 8:30 Central Time. I got you. So it's like, I got you. Okay, I got to remember. I try to put Eastern Standard Time because we have Tony who's in Houston. I know her time is different as well. So I try to take into account you guys that are in different parts of the country. Hey, Nikki, how we doing? Great to have you guys here. And again, I hope that you guys have went and watched the Instagram video. If you haven't, or you need to refresh yourself, by all means, go right ahead because I'm going to be referring to it as I have my discussion. But I definitely want to hear from you guys in a little bit. So first and foremost, let me make my popcorn. Hey, you know, that's a great idea. I should have made some, but I can't eat it during the show. But I might make some after I get off. Do you have the microwave kind, or do you make it from scratch? I like to make it from scratch. A little oil. Drop the kernels into, I'm in Texas too. Okay, gotcha. Well, Tony Calloway, I believe, is in Houston. Yeah, I believe she's in Houston. So we got two Texas folks here. That's cool. So, but yeah, I make my popcorn from scratch. I always buy a couple of jars, and then I just cook it in a pan with a little top on it. I'm good, and we go from there. And I've learned how to use the microwave with regular kernels. I don't need to use the bag popcorn anymore. You just put it in a microwave bowl, cover it with a paper plate, and set it between 3 to 5 minutes, but listen for it, and it actually pops. You don't need any oil, you don't need anything, and you're good. And then you can add your salt, your butter, whatever you put on it. But again, how's everybody doing? Make sure throw a 1 in the chat room if you're good tonight. Hey, Kim, throw a 1 in the chat room if you're good tonight. And we're going to get started on this. I just want to know how everybody's feeling, or you can just go ahead and post how you're feeling tonight. You can put a 1 in the chat room if you're doing pretty good. Hey, Michelle. And so, again, I hope you guys have done your homework. I hope you guys have looked at the video. The OG was kicking facts, as some people would like to say. I'm not too sure about that, but we're going to have that conversation because I think in a bubble, what he was saying sounded real good, but I think there's a lot there that could be discussed, and I think there was a lot on the table that wasn't discussed, but that's just me. And so y'all can agree or disagree, but the floor is always going to be open to honest conversation because I think there were some parts. Good to see that 1 there, Michelle. Good to know that you're doing pretty good. So we're going to get into this. So let's get started. Everybody can pop in, chime in when they choose. I'm looking at the chat here, so I will make sure that I stay on top of everybody's responses. Okay, so before we get deep into this, you guys tell me what was your thoughts on his position of the man's role, the husband's role. Now, I know you guys responded to this in the group when we first put the video up, and I know we got a mixture of everything, and we got a lot of good responses, but what's we can recreate them here. Now, I ain't gonna be 4 hours tonight. I ain't messing with y'all tonight. I'm tired. My foot is hurting tonight. Nah, no 4 hours tonight. Maybe. Maybe. If y'all want to keep it going in the chat room after I get off, definitely. Definitely. But what's your thoughts? Because I'm trying to scroll back to see what some of the discussion was. Okay, here we go. So let me just go through some of these here. So we'll take a look at what was said. So Cash said, I totally hear him. Oh, this okay. Listen, I love it. So Cash said the other night, I totally hear him. However, I'm not all the way with him. I am very keen on women having and keeping their independence. However, I want her to feel safe and taken care of. I pay the rent, the cable, internet. I would ask her to pay the utilities and food. I don't want a woman who wants me to treat her like her father. She wants quality of her dad and me. Sure. Treat her however? Nah. Okay. I think Cash, yeah. So then Lisa said, I think that's what a father actually wants for his daughter, a man who is going to be respectful, generous, and protective. Okay. All right, let's see. So Cash said, now, can anyone think why I would ask her to pay utilities? If so, let's discuss it on Wednesday. See what I did there? Okay. Cash promoting the show. Lisa said, Cash, yeah, holding my thoughts, hoping that I could be free at 9:30. I like what he said on the surface. Okay, Michelle, tell me why you like what he said on the surface. Jackie said, I would love to discuss this video. As you know, I'm a daddy's girl, so I have some strong thoughts on this subject. Looking forward to chopping this up. Yes, Jackie is definitely a daddy's girl. Her pops did not like me, by the way. And if y'all haven't figured out, yes, Jackie and I used to date. But her father never liked me, y'all. Her father, ooh. He didn't like the fact I didn't get dressed. I was always low-key casual. But her father was a providing dude. He took care of his responsibilities. But I think it inflates his importance to the family. Okay, that's a thought on that. When you say inflates his importance to the family, what do you mean? Tamari said, here's the thing. I get what he's saying. Okay, great, amazing, perfect. Would love to hear the wife's perspective. I could not hear too much because of all the swearing. Can't hear your point with all that. Tell me why we can't express ourselves without all the language. Well, listen, people love to curse, and I do get that. I try to prevent myself from using curse words, but cursing is a form of expression. I felt he was correct in how he felt his role was. Okay, got you. You want to explain? You want to share with me why, Kim? I'm just taking it in. I'm just going back and look at some of the comments. I'm going to get into it in a second. So Paul said, if she's a housewife and doesn't have a job, expect to take care of the house is fulfilling the duties that I can agree with him. For a man to be willing to do all this, we're talking about a saint of a woman that is cooking all the meals, washing all the clothes, and pleasing him at will. Now, that's a woman that could get all of that. Today's women can't even spell submissive without being offended or equating it with the man possibly being abusive to her. In this scenario, everyone is playing their role to perfection and equally satisfied with the arrangements. If that's the case, no argument here. Okay. Okay, and then Tamari responded to him. Pastor Sandy said, wow, I love a good cuss. I bet you do, Kim. So Pastor Sandy said, wow, besides the profanity, he said the whole truth, and he is exactly correct. Okay. And then Nanette, shout out to my sister Nanette Buchanan, my author sister, poetic sister as well. What is his line of employment? I like to know what equates to paying all of those bills to his job and 8 kids, 12 grandkids, time spent home and any activities. Does she work? Does she get to spend other monies? If not, there's plenty of questions. I asked only, okay, let me see. I'm trying to juggle between. Even if she has a job, he felt he was responsible for all the coverage. Okay, I feel you, Kim. I feel you. I ask only because what's the ideal situation? Unfortunately, it's not all. Not all fathers that have child support orders are fathers that don't spend money. But with 8 paying the bills, father, also when health problems come in, he can walk. Is there stability insurance? What then? I only ask. After my husband's stroke, I had to step up my game. For us, it wasn't about who did and didn't. It was about us, as he said, not bragging, just facts. As a team, a mother, father, man, wife work together to support. Okay. Yeah, this is one that to be talked about. Okay. So I got pretty much, let me see, I think there's 2 more comments that I missed. Let me just see. So I'm going to get into the designation of roles too, because I think that's important. Dana said, "I love cussing. It frees this. It free. I guess that's freeze. It frees the soul and mind. That's one way to look at it. I feel you, Dana." Michelle said, "We women like to feel provided for and not have to worry about bill security. But some of the comments led me to believe he's controlling and tolerant of her being an individual." Okay, listen. And well, you knew they were going to. You know, everybody's going to go deep because when it's the daddy, it's always going to cut deeper. And then when you add daddy and husband connected to it, it's going to cut even deeper, which I expected. So by all means, go ahead, leave your thoughts. Ronell said he ain't said one time how he treats his wife, just what he does for her. He never said I respect my wife. He never said I'm loyal to my wife. He never said I love my wife. She takes good care of me and I take good care of her. He never said because my wife is an amazing woman, I do this and that. He only said as a man, this is what I'm obligated to do for women. I get pregnant. A woman, I get okay. Okay. And then Michelle, okay. I'm a daddy's girl and old school. I believe a man should take care of and provide for. Okay. Like I said, I know we got a couple of daddy's girls in here. So I know that's anytime you talk, and it's the same way when I was teaching. Anytime I bring up daddy or husband, and we have those conversations, it always cuts deep because we're all connected to how we were raised and how we married if we were married. My dad was a very good provider, but a cheater of the 9th degree. Okay, gotcha. Michelle said, I do agree with him in principle. If he makes the money in time to take care of all those babies, more power to him. My daddy worked and made money in the house to pay the bills. My mom worked too, but she primarily paid what she wanted to pay and hair, school, stuff, etc. I still ended up with 2 abusive relationships. Where did that come from? The low self-esteem, unfortunately for him too. I was a chubby kid and he suffered from his name calling and joke calling me fat. Okay, that's something to talk about too. What's up, Cash? Nah, it's okay, brother. I'll check out the draft and all that stuff later. So I was just going back, Cash, and reading through everybody's comments on this from the other day. So we're all caught up. I see that Tamari responded to pretty much everybody, which is cool. So right now, I'm just asking everybody to share their thoughts about what they heard. I'm good, my dude. I'm good. A little sore. I'm sitting here with my foot is a little sore, but it's all right. I go through that every now and then, old age, but it's all right. So just sitting here, and I was watching the video earlier, so I hope you guys did your homework. Because again, I think there's some things that's telling in what he was saying. But I think on the surface, when you're looking at a husband and father and other stuff like that, I think there's a lot that could go on there. What's up, Johnny? How we doing, bro? Good to see you tonight. Why was he yelling? He's yelling because whatever was in that cup, and they were having a little family get together. So you had a couple of drinks, the octaves go up a little bit. So I think he was in his bag a little bit. That's why I think he was yelling. But it is what it is. But again, you guys, please share. I'm just asking the you guys in the chat what your thoughts were on his positioning, because he basically was saying he takes care of everything. And he said in 18 years, my wife has never had to pay a bill. That's what a man does. And he's like over 18 years. He says, I 8 children, 12 grandchildren. And my children know all they got to do is ask me for something and they got it. And he said a woman should want a husband to treat her the same way that her father treated her, or there's no reason to be together. So, oh yeah, that video. So I get it. But there's some things that, and I know you guys go deep. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I can look at it as a father. I can look at it as a dude with multiple children. I can look at it as a therapist. Yeah, definitely. I think when you start slapping those every titles on everything, it automatically changes the Cash. That always affects it. When you hear men say every woman, when you hear women say every man, it automatically dilutes the conversation. You should always leave it open for a person's interpretation for what they've been connected to. But I think there's also the religious aspect of it, depending on where you come from as a person of faith. Also, if you've had a history of domestic violence or abuse, which we do have some wonderful young ladies in here who are survivors, of domestic abuse. So they've had negative interactions with husbands who are controlling. So some of what you could have saw could lead to that too. So I think we have a lot here that can be gnawed on. So my thing is, I'm going to put my thoughts on the table and we can share it. And I don't have a problem if anybody doesn't agree with me, because this is one of those things where how you set your home up, if it works for you, then it's okay. So you don't have to agree. Tonight is one of those nights where we don't have to agree at all. Not that we have any problem with that, but tonight is one of those nights, and good to see that the brothers are showing up tonight as well. Hope to hear from you guys. So tonight is one of those nights where I want you, as we're thinking about what he said, I want you to really consider what your thoughts are on that position of husband. Cass said, I understand his position. I get it. However, you have to allow daughters to establish their happy connection with their partner. I don't know if he was taken away from that, Cash. Hey, Tony. I don't know if he was taken away from that other than giving his a thought on how that should look. Now, you know it's going to affect the choices that a daughter makes because a father and mother have that type of influence. We are the products of who raised us. So we're going to find ourselves doing much based on how we were raised or how we weren't raised. So depending on. So first and foremost, let me get into this. Let me, and again, y'all guys popping in, I'll try to hit some of the comments. Here's the first thing. I don't have a major problem with his overall thinking of a man being responsible. The problem I have, it's real easy to say a man should be, okay, as long as he isn't abusive or prohibit his wife and family, he can't be thought as noble, but I see signs of abuse. Well, that's what we have to be very careful of, Michelle, because it's easy to pick at that and believe that that's there without knowing what the prelude of the conversation was, what triggered the conversation, and what was said afterwards. So I try not to look at it in that aspect, because in a snapshot, I think we all can look like abusers and we can all look like victims in a snapshot. And I think what we got with these videos is a snapshot. But again, and I thank you, Cash, for saying that, it's going to trigger all of us because it's connected to something that's serious for all of us. Whether you're a father, like Cash and I and a couple other brothers here, whether you're a wife or ex-wife, like a lot of ladies here, whether you're a grandfather, like I happen to be, and then, of course, we all have different relationships with our father. I didn't meet my father until I was 39, actually. And then, you know, as a father, there's just certain things that I try to put on the table. So what I tried to look, and I went back and I looked at it before I came on. I could understand why somebody watches that clip and they stomp on their feet yelling, gospel. Yes, I get that's the OG kicking it. I got that. Because we live in a world where we don't see a lot of stand-up people. As we don't see as many stand-up folks. I'm not going to say it's that limited. We just don't see them as much. They're out there, tons of them. But telling his children that they can come to him if that needed, takes the picture the other way, if what is wanted not needed, but she just wants it. I'm going to get to that in a second too, because I think there's something telling about that too. And you have to put the numbers together when you look at that, Kim. And so when you look at his role or the role that he has, again, I don't have a major problem. Let me take this. I don't have a major problem with somebody saying, this is my role. Because if his wife is okay with it, and everything is working in their home, who are we to say that it doesn't work unless there's something abusive going on? Then, of course, if there is, then it can't be healthy, so it's not cool. But if we just go on the snapshot, that's what I want everybody to focus in on, just the snapshot. His premise of the man should pay everything, or my wife has never had to pay anything. Bruh, if you got it like that, I'm not mad at that. Also, here's the thing that I heard, though. Him and his wife have been married 18 years. Okay, so either you started having children before y'all got married, or you have other children other places, because where did all these grandkids come from? So I'm going to go on the assumption that you have children in other places, because if we listen further, and he says, all my children know they can come to me if they need something. And the second part that tips me off that he has other children in other places, when he says, I've never had any child support orders. Okay, that's cute. But here's the problem. As much as you're thunderous about, I believe Cash knows he didn't say he loved his wife. That was Ronell. And again, it's hard in a snapshot. We don't know what the rest of the conversation is, Michelle. But in that snapshot, he didn't say because I love her. And that is something to pay attention to. But he was on his roll about what he do, so it was about him. So we don't know if he didn't say it earlier. But yes, in that snapshot, no, he did not say, I love my wife, so I want her to be X, Y, and Z. I always pay attention to that too. I didn't hear the affectionate part of the, this is my role. But the problem that I have is that when you have 8 children, 12 grandchildren, to have 12 grandchildren, that means your children are older. Because if you've been married going on 19 years and you had a baby then, you only have a 19-year-old. So where do these 12 grandkids come from? Which means you have older children. That leads me to believe you've had children before you got married. Now, you may still have been with this young lady here, but you've had children before you got married. Yeah, and again, these are all the things that we can look at, Cash, we can look at the wife, but again, because we don't have access to that, again, we're stuck with what all we got was what he said. But here's the thing. When you say, I've never been on a child support order, so what? You're not supposed to be. And for you to say that when you have that mindset doesn't make any sense either. So that tips me off that there's children in other places. Well, here's the problem I have. If you're this firm, solid, I got this, my woman never has to worry about anything, then, like myself, what the hell were you out there doing when you was out there creating these 8 kids? And how are those 8 kids supposed to find the love and attention and affection that's supposed to come from having a father in their life if you have 8 kids and 12 grandkids, but nobody, and they know to call you when you want something? Okay. Well, we don't know if he was stepping out on her. We don't know that. We don't know if those are all children from an earlier situation, Cash. I'm staying away from the assumptions as I just look at, all I'm focusing on what I saw in the video, because we could add any assumption to fit our own narrative. And we could add anything that will make it fit how we think. I'm just looking at what he said. And then I'm going on what I'm trying to perceive from what he said. Because if your children know that they can call it anything that they want, they can get. I got that. But what I'm concerned about is, what about the other parts? Like everybody here, this is where now we fill in what we think. And I think it's cute, but dangerous. And I think anybody who shows that and says, this is what the role of a man should be, is setting somebody up for a very bad situation, female or male. No, there was no affection in that situation. That's why there's no reason. And when a person says I'm not bragging, but actually that's what they're doing. It's the same as I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm going to be disrespectful. It's the double talk that we tell ourselves to make it okay to have the conversation. So yes, you pay the bills. You do all the things you're supposed to do. But what you don't realize is that in the same light that the women in the background, who may be daughters, we don't know, could be other family members, are cheering you, we have to be very careful that we're not taking this as a snapshot and then trying to hold other men up to what is a very narrow narrative without all the other information that you guys have brought to the table. And as I've mentioned, we don't know what he's been to his children. We don't know what he's been to his wife. We don't know how he makes his money. We don't know any of those things other than just we know he has a wife of 19 years. We know that he has 8 children and he has 12 grandchildren. Well, I just did the numbers. If you had a child when you first got married, that child would only be 19. Where these 12 grandchildren come from? So to me, that signals to me there's other children. The child support order is that too. So now the question becomes, how do we look at that in the roles of our own situation? How do we look at if we're sitting with some kids who now say, yeah, that's what a man should be. How do we shape that? Because to me, that's something I'm always thinking about. And I'm always thinking about how do we use this as a teaching tool to allow folks to see multiple views. Because everybody's going to choose the way that they want to go in their relationship. And we have to be careful, especially on social media, how when something is grabbed and then put back out and repurposed, that we don't get behind it and say, oh, I agree 100%, because then we're lending our credibility to something that may not be credible. And that's the most damaging part of social media to begin with, is that non-credible sources have become credible forms of non-credible information. People are now taking stuff that's thrown out there as gospel. We got to be very careful. Because like you guys said, no affection. He didn't say all that as if my wife and I got this. It was about him. And it was obviously about him. And then he tried to clean it up by saying, I'm not boasting, and I'm just saying. And then the curse words is also telling too, because he wanted to make it known. He wanted to make sure that what he was saying drove home. Now that might be his regular language, but again, we have the luxury of going back and looking at it. And so you pay all these bills. Okay. There's so many areas. We have to be very careful. As you notice, I didn't say much because you can't encapsulate someone's whole life in a 60-second clip, 2 60-second clips. I don't even think the second one was 60 seconds, so 90 seconds total. Because we have to be very careful. Because again, the wife never co-signed. Well, again, we don't know that because we don't know what was happening before he was having this conversation. And we don't know what was happening after the conversation. We got to be careful of that, Kim. Because again, we can say, where was the wife? Well, she might have started speaking for the next 3 hours. We don't know. So again, when we just squeeze, he's married, 18 going on 19 years. He's 8 children, 12 grandkids. No support orders. He pays all the bills. And a woman should want a man that treats her just like a father. See, I got a problem with that too. Because you want a man that treats your woman right and well and makes her happy. How they choose to pay their bills. And I think when we start putting those little mental time bombs in place, then you wonder why certain relationships don't work out. Because you've set traps inside somebody else's mind that when those traps spring open, they don't know how to deal with certain situations. How come you don't do for me like my father does? But then what if my father, he was an we could assume that. And again, tonight is one of those nights where you can add any you think they had an open relationship? I do not. He don't seem like the type that would be cool with that, just from what I heard. But tonight is one of those nights where you can add any assumption that works for you because we don't know. So, Kim, you might be right. He might be an old-ass player. And I think that's the beautiful thing of that clip, to be able to watch it. Well, we don't know. He still could be a player, and he might just be a player who takes care of everything at home. But, and you can look at him, he was a joke. I don't necessarily agree with that tomorrow that he was a joke. I think he was very serious, and I think there's some parts that could be commended. I don't really have an issue with the language. His end was open. Okay. I think I think the beautiful thing tonight is that I was interested in just seeing where you guys take the narrative. That's what was more interesting to me, because there wasn't a whole lot more to go on and everything else would be speculation. But that's the fun part of having a show like this and been speaking to intelligent folks like yourself. The speculation is what drives us to think certain things. And for me, I understand with that. Listen, it's okay to have a problem with the language. I try not to curse, but I do. And I don't do it a lot, but I do curse. And I catch myself, and I do catch myself and say, Lord, forgive me. I try not to let that side of me get the mic too often, but it does. And I'm human, and I'm okay, and I'm working on it. But I think like anything else, that doesn't Yeah, there's a second clip. If you go back and click the link, there's a second clip. There's a second link where he's just explaining about the daughter. A woman should want a man like her husband. But when I see a lot of it, there's a lot of toxic masculinity going on there too. And that's why we have to be careful. Because we could be inadvertently pushing women into an abusive situation. If the wife was there and she had his back, I would be there cheering. Okay, so let me ask you a question, Tamari. How do you know she didn't? How do you know she didn't have his back? How do you know she didn't speak before he started talking or right after? You don't know. She may have his back, and she may love everything that he said. We don't know. And when we don't know, that's where we got to be very careful, because I'm going to tell you something. These assumptions that we're making right now are some of the same assumptions that we make in our regular relationships. And we have to be very careful, because, again, we're going to create the speculation based on our own experiences, our own thoughts of what we saw, and of course, our own emotions. And nobody could be 100% right tonight, and nobody could be 100% wrong tonight. And that's what makes tonight's conversation beautiful. There is no right or wrong, because nobody knows. We don't know what happened before. We don't know what happened afterwards. And I've come to learn this watching the police videos that I watch. I've come to learn that often we're not privy to what happened before the camera turned on. As you stated from the jump, every relationship has a fashion, their own home accord. What's best? I was brought up in a home where my dad paid the bills, but my mom did the work and helped. He was the first man in my... Yes, he was. He ain't like me. He did not like me. I don't know. To me, it felt it was about him. In that clip, it might have been. I said there's some of that. There was definitely some toxic masculinity. But again, we don't know. But he definitely made the clip about him because he said it. He said, listen, this is what I do. And then backed it up by said, I'm not trying to brag. But again, he's not trying to brag, but he is. And again, hold on one second. And again, it's okay. Because it's not for me to try to figure him out. It's just, what did I see? And like I said, from what I saw, if you got 8 children and 12 grandchildren, you have other children. And my thought process was, I hear everything you're saying for your wife. What are you doing for the baby mamas? And how are your kids benefiting? Are they getting your time as much as your money is getting to the table? So I worry about how are those other kids and the grandkids doing? Okay, you pay the bills. That's a wonderful thing. But are you able to spend time with the children from other relationships? Because 19 years is not going to produce 8 kids and 12 grandkids unless your kids was getting it in young. If they were there and listening to him go on, I automatically feel fearful for the wife. I've helped many women who come out of charming, manly homes. It's just some things that clue me in. And again, that's because that's your position, Michelle. And you're going to be sensitive to those things simply because of what you do for a living and what you've lived through in your life. So you're going to be ultra sensitive to certain things that sound like that because that's how you help people right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, there's no way to know if anybody tonight is going to be right or wrong. So anything that you guys put out here in the chat is okay. And we have to realize because we have daughters who are just they love their daddies. And we have to put that out there. But again, there's no way of knowing because everything that you offer, I can counter. And that's the problem that we don't have. Everything that you offer can be countered because we don't have all the telling information. So we have to just take from the narrative as we see it and go, if this was the case, if that was the case, if she said this, if she said. So I'll give you an example, Tamara and Michelle. If right before that camera went on, she says, listen, your father can break it down better than I can, but he's always took care of me. Tell him, baby. And now he runs down what he just said. Is that now someone that's a product of her abuse or somebody that's rocking out with him? We don't know. Because clearly the ladies in the room, if they were daughters or other family members, loved what he said. Because they was like, this is gospel. The way he was talking, I felt if they would be at the house, whether or not the wife wants them there. The way he felt, I felt if they would. Who would be? When you say they, who's they, Kim? Ride to die. We don't know. Again, it's a possibility. We don't know. I didn't get the abusive vibe. I got the arrogance vibe. I didn't get the abusive vibe because of the way the women were reacting around him and what he was trying to say. But that could be the prelude to that, depending on what else came from that. But I didn't get that vibe initially when I watched it. I was like, okay. He just reminded me possibly as an old player, the kids. True. And he might have had his other kids in the house when he was spitting this. Those might have been his other kids. We don't know. The question becomes, what does that look like in our lives? What does that look like with the father of our children? What does that look like with the husbands that we choose, the wives that we choose? What does that look like when we're setting up our home? My stepspot Jamaican, he takes I guess he talks, right, Cash? He talks very, very aggressive. All my life since I was 8, not knowing him, he would swear my mom's gets verbally abusive. Perception is crazy. Yes, I got you. His kids, like whatever he says goes. That's a possibility, Kim. And Cash, I feel you. You know, our Caribbean brothers and sisters, that language can get very rough. Very, very rough. Two of my sons are Haitian. Another son is Grenadian. So I've had my share of Caribbean women. So yes, my 2 sons from my former marriage are Haitian, and my son in Maryland is Grenadian. And so the other 4 are American. So I have a little mixture there, so I know how that works. We may not know, but I would still feel the same. Abused women want to stroke a man's ego. But without hearing her talk, how do you know she was an abused woman? Without knowing what their situation is, how do we know that there's abuse to begin with, other than us painting it there based on what we think? There was nothing to say abuse other than just him being aggressive. If you ever heard me play cards, right, Cash, you would think I'm an abuser. And hell, the way I talk when I'm playing cards, I'm very abusive. If you ever heard Cash, myself, and Kim, and a lot of us when we're bowling, you would think we're all abusive. And we have had other people around us actually get offended by the way that we talk to each other when we are bowling. And again, perception is a lot of things. So we have to be careful. They don't call me big dog for no reason. And I'm quick with this tongue. And I'm very disrespectful. Men and women get it with this tongue. Kim, stop it. You may not be as loud as Cash and I, but you know for a fact you give it on the low, Kim. Stop that foolishness. I bowled against you. You be talking trash. You just ain't super loud with it. Stop that, Kim. Don't come on here lying now. This is something I know to be true. And don't let Cash fool you. He's a very intellectual brother. Oh, I know you don't start, Kim. I just know you give him the business. Same thing with playing spades. Back in the day, playing spades. Oh, without question. That's another thing, too. I married a Jamaican. That mouth can get reckless. Without question. This is what I wanted y'all to share, because this is what we all come from different points of view. Oh, I know you don't start, Kim, but don't tell me you ain't got the knife on the side and somebody getting it. And Cash and I have played spades against each other, and we have sat at the table as well as bowled. Cash know we played poker. Cash know I'm reckless just like he is. He's reckless too. And sometimes you got to step away and be like, let me get my feelings in check, because that kind of hurt. That's just part of what this is. And in a spades game, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'll have you wanting to slap me. So I'll make you think that abusing me might be the best way to get me to shut up. Chill, don't let it out. So what I'm saying, guys, and I think it's very important, because people are gonna watch that. Not a knife or grenade. That's what I'm talking about. See, Kim, no. That's why I'm telling you, what we gotta be careful is that people are gonna watch this video and they're gonna say the OG was kicking facts. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to cut you super deep in spades. I'm going to cut my own partner. I'm going to have my own partner ready to quit. He act up. I just suspected. I would definitely not surprise me. Abused women try to hide it. These women are ashamed. I agree. Kim, Michelle, you know I agree. I agree with everything that you're saying in scenarios where there could be possible abuse. I just think we have to be very careful, and we actually have to draw a hedge around this video and say if, and then wherever it takes us. Because if we say the video is signs of abuse, we open up the doors to a lot of negative things that may not be able to be explained. I'm quiet, but open a a whole 6-pack of whoop ass. You want some more? I got some more in my pocket. Don't you cry. You ain't sit down here crying. And it's them quiet ones, Dana. I'm not mad at you. And like I said, I think we have to put a hedge around the video, and then actually, which is great. You know what, Michelle? That sound good. I'm okay. My original name in bowling was Let You Tell It. That's cute. I hear you, but you live in South Carolina right now. You left New York a long time ago. We can't take that serious. So I don't know how they getting down to South Carolina. So we're gonna have to put a little asterisk next to that. But I hear you though. Everybody's supposed to feel like, if you don't feel that way coming to play spades against me, I'm not playing you. If you too passive, I'm not trying to hear from you. Go sit somewhere. Go play over the kiddie table. Go over there and play. Go fish or something. This the grown folks table over here. Drinks, cursing, and make your books over here. If this ain't for you, then go on in there and listen to some Marvin Gaye and sit down and shut up. Don't come over here if you don't know what you're doing. And don't come over here if you in your feelings either, because you're going to get up real quick. But again, I think what we have to do, guys, is when we look at a video like this, take that video, use it as a door opener, and then take it to wherever your strength is. Like, Tamari doesn't like cursing, what she said, and that's okay. So Tamari could take this video and say, you see this here, and then she could take it in whatever direction works for her. Michelle just showed you. She can take this. Oh, I'm a spades player. We should have a virtual. I wish we could. Let me tell you something, Tamari. I'm going to be very honest with you. I have been looking for virtual ways to play spades. The problem is all the virtual platforms don't allow you to put in your own rules. And let me tell you something. Jackie knows because her mother is one of the toughest spades players that I've ever had to play against. 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning playing spades. Her mom is no joke. And I had to go hard. Because her mom, and they even had their own set of rules that you had to learn how to play inside their house. And it was tough. Some of those games got, but you can't curse. And so it wasn't the same as when I was in college. Now, in college is a whole different thing. I can say my mouth, I used to swear like a truck driver, but it took a lot of self-work. But it will hurt your ego intellectually. I understand that. I can rock with that, Tamari. I think what has to happen is it's how you curse. If you're just cursing because you don't have words, that's different. I think when you're using curse words to emphatically say something, yes. Board is 5. That changed the whole game when board is 5. You're like, oh Lord. But yeah, a lot of the online programs don't allow you to add your rules to it, and it makes it very difficult sometimes when people are used to playing the way that they're used to playing. But there are some spades programs out there that you could use, but that would be kind of cool. Tell you what, when this whole COVID thing has passed, vaccines or not, we definitely got to set something up in a central location and have everybody come, and we're going to have the Unapologetically Spades weekend, minus the curse. We're going to try not to curse tomorrow. We're going to try. I said try, because I know some of the folks in here personally. I said try. So I think every one of us could take this video, and I think we should, and use it as an opportunity to have a conversation, just like I did here. And again, that's what I said. I think the cursing was the emphasized point. And I believe as an author, I have written a whole book. Lukewarm Saint has no curse words in it. From Gigolo to Jesus, I don't think has any curse words in it either. So I wrote Lukewarm Saint with the strict purpose of not adding any curse words. I created a poetic anthology, 13 poets that all wrote 10 different poems. So that's 256 poems, not one curse word. So it can be done. The question is how comfortable people are with co-signing to that. But I'm never going to stop a person from cursing unless they're just cursing to be cursing. Like I don't like to hear anybody curse who's just cursing to be cursing. Well, I'll cook because I don't play cards of any time. I got you, Kim. Well, we gonna figure something out for you, Kim. Because you won't be able to play with me. I couldn't play with you, and it's nothing personal, but you ain't sitting and play with me if you can't play. But we'll figure something out. Because I know Tiff ain't gonna want to touch nothing like that, so Tiff will be hanging out with you too. But again, I really think with all the intellectuals that we have here, this video is a great way for you to create a door opener to have a conversation with. What do you see? What's the OG saying? Do you agree? Don't you agree? And then really sit down and challenge yourself to do exactly what you guys are doing here, but limit the scope. Don't let folks run off with their if, because it's easy to do. It is. It's easy. If we let it go, we got him beating his wife, beating his kids, cheating on him, got 16 women, if we run off with the ifs. But the cool thing about it is that if you can control the narrative in terms of ask everybody to come to the table and bring their thoughts. It's crazy at 37, I don't curse around grown folks. I don't have an age for who I consider grown per se. I just know, unless they're at the bowling alley and wearing an opponent's jersey, right, Kat? If they not wearing the jerseys that we were wearing, yeah, they might hear some words they don't need to hear. And sometimes the curse word is necessary to slam the exclamation point on what you were saying. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes the F up is necessary when you said what you just said. Shut the. Sometimes that's necessary. Or go, what's up? That's Go ahead. My wife says dang nabbit. I fall out every time you write that to me. My wife says the same thing. Dang nabbit. Even my daughter says dang nabbit. Not trying to play cards thanks to a boyfriend who came to take me out, and my father introduced him to new bourbon barrel poker table, said he played at the table. Woo, Kim, that's, listen, I've stayed at the bowling alley sometimes till the sun has come up trying to play some poker, and Lord help me. So I know I've been there. And Tiff's mother and grandmother used to do card parties at her house. We used to come over, and my mother, listen, I grew up with card parties every Friday and Saturday, fish frying, chicken legs frying. They were selling fish sandwiches, chicken sandwiches, and the whole house smelled like Newports and Marlboros and whatever else you drinking. And your eyes is bloodshot and going hard all night. And I think I was 13, 14, 15. And then when I got old enough to sit down at the table, I remember my mom saying to me, "You sure you want to do that? These some real players." Yeah, I was like, okay, let's go. And yeah, I made some money, and the other time I got roughed off. My fiance says French toast. It's French toast. I like that one. But yeah, I as much as I try not to curse, sometimes it's like, who the you talking to? Sometimes you need that to get somebody's attention. I know you ain't talking to me. You know, lost your mind. Sometimes you need those words said exactly like that to get somebody's attention. It signals that hands may be laid on if we continue this path. So the curse word is actually explanatory. When I say you need to F up, it is because what comes after that may not be conversation. It may be the way to try to get you to F up. So it's on you if that's what you want to do. But I'm giving you a chance by telling you to shut the up. So we just have to be careful. I'm going to give you a pet peeve of mine, right? And I know it's going to be very sexist, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't like to hear a woman curse. I grew up in a house full of women that's all they did. My mother, my grandmother, my aunts. I mean, Lord. I heard, oh, pity pat, stop playing. Stop playing. We can play. Some people call it deuces. We can do whatever. I play it all. We can do a little something on the side. Let's go. We got dollars. We play those too. Don't play. And no holding pairs in your hand. Let's go. We can do that too. Pity pat. Keno. You name it. I done played all the hood games. See, in my house, all I have to do is give a look and the new old boy is on. Yes, yes. But I think, back to the video, guys, I think what's funny is that there are some strong parts to what he said that I believe are positive. A man should want, you ain't saying it. Stop playing. You know what? Yeah, I play CeeLo and craps. Let me tell you something. I done sat many a night on a corner playing CeeLo till my back was hurting. But I think we have to give credit for when a man understands his role. There's something to that. Now, whether we agree how he adapts that role, but the fact that he says, my wife doesn't have to do anything. She shouldn't. I don't have an issue with that. I honestly like that part. that he said my wife shouldn't have to do any of that. That's why I felt that I don't necessarily believe it wasn't bragging, even though I think there was some braggadociousness connected to how he was talking. But I felt that that's real for him. And there's nothing wrong with a man saying my responsibility is to make sure my family is straight. I just think there's so many levels that we could dig into: social, economic, social, political, racial. There's a whole many things that we can climb into. Johnny, what's going on, sir? That we could climb into that can't be discussed. And that's why, for me, there's only but so much that we can pull from that 90 seconds. But to hear a man say, my responsibility is to make sure my family is straight, I don't have an issue with that. But again, other parts dilute that. Because then I'm going to be honest, as a man that has 7 children with 6 different women, you can judge me any way that you want. Hey, no problem, Johnny. Appreciate you, brother. I say it all the time. I have 7 children with 6 different women. Now, before you judge me, I've had 1 child with 1 woman the last 20 years. But if I don't tell you that, you're going to look at me sideways too. Happens every time I go out to speak. Hey, T to the Y, no problem. Appreciate you being here, brother. Jump in where you get in where you fit in. You know how that works. Great to see you. You and my brother Johnny. Is that we have to be very careful of the snapshot that we take of somebody and then wipe them with the brush that's comfortable for us. Because I've had people do that. Even with the title of my book, From Gigolo to Jesus. I've had people criticize me. How you going to say you went from a gigolo to Jesus? Go ahead, ask your question, Tamara. I got you. How you going to go from gigolo to Jesus? That's disrespectful. So you Jesus now? If that's how you think, instead of asking me, but I'll answer your question. I went from a life of sex to one focused on the Lord. That's what the title means. But if you believe it's offensive, okay, I can't help you. Don't buy the book. I don't get offended because you didn't like my choice of title. But it's okay. If you ask me, I'll explain it to you. And I know it's not going to be for everybody, and it's okay. Go ahead, Tamara. What's your question, Dom? Fire away. Do you think men with 7 kids get treated differently than a woman with 7 kids? All depends. Does she have 7 baby daddies? And does he have 7 baby mamas? I have 6 baby mamas, if you want to call it that. 2, 1 ex-wife and 1 current wife. But again, the reason why I don't jump at initial thoughts is because you have to be able to show me what a person's life is. But women are always going to be judged differently, Tamari, in this country, in this world, because it's a male-dominated world. I don't judge because, again, the question is, does she have 7 baby daddies? And under what auspices did you have them? If you had 7 husbands, well, the question is, how do you just keep getting married? What's going on? But if you had 7 children, I'm not stressing how many children you have. It's under the circumstances that you had them. See, if you listen to me, my first 37 years was about the penis. Okay, the last 15 years has been about God. Which one do you want to judge? Because if you want to judge my first 37 years, yeah, I lived with I was about to curse. I lived with the lower half of my body because I was good at it. And when you out having sex, which I put in the book with close to 400 women, and that's a light estimate, probably is more. And yes, when you go, well, how the hell did you come up with those numbers? Simple. I figured out that I pretty much hump between 9, 10, 11 women a year, probably more. And then you multiply that with the fact that I started having sex when I was 12. I had my first child when I was 14. Do the math. And it's easy. Well, it was easy. But I have no problem with somebody judging me because they're going to react based on their feelings about what I said. But it's okay. And I'm going to tell you how I flip it. When people look at me like, you nasty. How you a man of God? Ew. I go, okay, I feel you. Can I ask you a question? Yes. Do you read your Bible? Of course I do. Every day. I love the Lord. God is good. And every day he's good. You're right. I said, you read your Bible, right? Yes, I do. Okay. You read the New Testament? Yes, I do. And you know Paul wrote 19 of the 26 epistles of the New Testament. Yes, he did. And I read them all every day because he guided me, because the Bible is the thing. Paul murdered men, women, and children before he came to know the Lord. But yet you live by what he says. So which is it? Do you live by the man that he became when he became Paul, and you ignore what he was as Saul? Or do you still hate him for being Saul and ignore what God did to him to make him Paul? I'll wait. Because now are we going to remove the whole Damascus experience? Because you cannot have it both ways. And that is how I get it, folks who try to get at me for what I did. If I know God has forgiven me, I could care less what people think. Because people are going to react from a position if they've been hurt, if they've been mistreated, if they didn't like certain things. It's whatever. Saul was very bad. But people forget that because of how they see Paul. But yet they'll turn around and cast you with the same brush that they do not cast the very things that they like. All right, am I back? Tell me if I'm back. Kim said I'm frozen. Put a 1 up if you can hear me. I want to make sure that we're good. Put a 1 up. God changed his heart. His heart wasn't good. Remember, Jesus asked him, why do you try to kill me? His heart wasn't good. His heart became good because for 3 days he was blinded. And for 3 days he was cared for by a man of God, Ananias. And now, and remember, when he was on the road to Damascus, that is a road that thieves are on. He had to travel that road blind, so he was humbled because remember, he had paper. So he's traveling on the road to Damascus, scared to death, blinded, not knowing why he's blind, and then had to be taken to the enemy. Stop and play it through your head. If you now knew you was on a road where everybody moving is robbing cats, you're going to be shook. And then you got to be guided down that road to the house of somebody who you know has beef with you, somebody who has every reason to kill you. And now you have to trust that this person is going to feed you, take care of you, when at any moment he could take your life and ain't nothing you could do about it. You gotta play certain aspects of the Bible in your head in real life situations. This is what I do when I'm teaching. And this is the mistake that a lot of churches make. They don't actually put it in the perspective that kids need to hear so they understand it, especially with gang members. If I took you to another gang member's house and blinded you and left you in the house, and now you know that another rival gang has to take care of you for 3 days, you going to be okay? Some kids would kill themselves. My numbers can't judge me. It was comfortable at chasing and gambling numbers, no cheating, no misleading, hit or miss, lucky I didn't make. Exactly. I think all of us, because I think all of us have backstory. All of us have backstory. Often we tend to forget our backstory as our new story is written. My backstory is actually what drives my current story. That's why I talk about it. What does Jesus say about the boulder in your eye and throwing rocks at glass houses? People don't think. No, they don't. And that's why we, as folks who have figured that out, have to be able to point people back to themselves. That's why I use the very Bible that they swear by, and I swear by too, but I show it to them in a different form because now they can't argue with me if they swear by their own book. So what I do as a teacher, instead of attacking them, which most of us, some people do, they want to try to attack. No, you don't attack. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And this is what I do. I try to teach. The idea is what we have to do is we have to allow a person to find their new vision on their own. And I think the one thing that I do as a therapist, all I do is hold mirrors up for people. It's not my job to change you. My job is to show you that a change is necessary. And then once you start to make that change and you ask for help. Go ahead, Ken. Let me see what you got. Off topic. I have an issue with a female I know. She became friends with another woman, then ended up with the husband, not my husband, but I can't seem to want to be anywhere around her. That's a tough one, Kim, and I'm going to tell you why. If you and her haven't made peace and you feel that you were done wrong by her, I would leave her alone. Because if you're still hurting by what was done to you, or not done to you, if you're still hurting by what was done, I'm just saying if it was you, then you leave it alone because it'll come out at some point. My backstory made me who I am. I don't forget what I went through. It just makes me a better person. No doubt. No doubt. I think, and that's the thing tomorrow, but what we have to do tomorrow and what I do on a regular is we have to then share that so other people can find a way out from under what might be something that's pressing them down. No, I know not you. I would tell the person if they're not okay with what happened, leave it alone until they're comfortable, because you're always going to be reminded of what happened to you. And there's nothing I would have to say, look, we can't be friends right now, because you can't be friends with somebody if you're hurting and you don't trust them. There's no reason. It's time to go ahead and let them go and do your thing. And I think back to this video, guys, which is very important, is the reason why we have these conversations. And again, if you guys have just jumped in, Johnny and T to the Y, we're talking about the video of the OG talking about what his role is. Now the new couple all in church. Listen, people tend to forget a lot of things about their past, and they will search out church, Kim, because church, people try to hide a lot of their warts by attending church. That's not the answer. God sees all. Actually, that's why it's one of the first commandments, thou shalt not be mocked, because you can hide anything from man. You can't hide it from God. But I think what we have to realize is that when we become doers of the word, we have to make sure that we understand every aspect of the word. And Timothy talks about that. Study daily to show thyself approved to the Lord. Often we're trying to show ourselves approved to our church and to our church leaders and to our pastor. That's foolishness to me, because none of those people will be there when you are judged. And I think it's very important that we shape how we choose to live our lives based on an understanding that we have connected to the faith itself, not connected to people in the faith. And I think we tend to forget that. And that's why so many people are driven away from religion. That's why so many people are driven away from church. That's why we have a term called church hurt. Is that you got people that'll take that same 90-second snapshot and pulverize any man who sounds like him. A lot of people don't know how to share their story until they realize their story can very well be like someone else's. And the Bible has tons. Of course, Tony. But that's why, Tony, you sharing your situation, Michelle sharing hers, and everybody else, Barbara Jean sharing hers, Tamari sharing hers, Kim sharing hers, all of you ladies, Jackie sharing her situation, all of you, Dana sharing her situation as a lover of daddy's girl. All of you sharing your backstories allows other people to go. Cash sharing his situations. I know T to the Y has put out some things that he feels. And if you go by any of you guys' pages, you see you guys doing it on a regular. The key is that you have to keep sharing with folks that you are ever evolving. But you got to let folks know where you came from. It's right there on my wall, right there. There it is right there, From Gigolo to Jesus. Why is that back there? Because that book tells my story. And then when you read my book, it's to create questions. Now, this one right here, my poetry book, was designed to do the same thing as From Gigolo to Jesus, but in poetry form. That's the last place that you'll find my erotic stories, right here. And A Man in Transition is the last place that I have published any erotic stories. And that's just a few. I have a collection because I was an erotic poet. And I was an erotic storyteller. I was actually planning on being the next male Zane. And I had a following. And I had big girls from Jersey, New York, Virginia, Maryland, California, you name it. 99, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, and 2006 February. I was a name in big girl circles. I was an erotic poet, an erotic storyteller, and a super whore. I had the material needed to get to the panties, and then I could perform once I got the panties. So when you got a built-in market, why would you leave it? Well, because it was unhealthy and because it was dangerous. And that video that I posted in the group today of the young lady saying that she went through her man's phone and found a whole lot of chicks. The first thing Tiff said, you probably know some of them big girls. I said, probably. And the idea that they went through some of the same things that Tiff and I went through, except no, I didn't end up with HIV. Luckily. Did I put myself in position? Yes, I did. And that's the reason why we have to tell our backstories, guys. We have to share our backstories. And if you're ashamed of your backstory, then you got work to do. If you can't bring yourself to talk about how you transformed your life, you got some work to do. Because if you just keep it to yourself, you're not helping the world. I am praying for the church. I was telling my husband now I'm still hurting by being sexually harassed at the church where I went to heal for my brokenness. The deacon and the pastor didn't know my past and had to remind me of my past. I got you. And listen, people are going to make some very poor decisions, Tony, and I'm sorry to hear that. But you keep pushing because you're on the right path and you're doing the right things with what you're doing. Tomorrow, the same for this crazy ex. My divorce isn't final till December, but I forgave him for me. Listen, the happiest day of my life was when I was in California, August 2003. And my mother called and said, there's a paper here from the courts. I said, read it. And she said, it didn't say congratulations. I was congratulating myself. When it said my divorce was final, woo, that plane ride, even with turbulence, I was writing a poem. But let me tell you what's funny about the divorce. I felt bad for my ex because I was a horrible husband. Now, yes, I was happy not to be married anymore, but I was a horrible husband. But I was celebrating. I wrote a poem, and if I could find it, because I got a whole collection of stuff that I didn't publish. There was a poem that I wrote to her basically saying, yes, we're divorced, but I want to say I'm sorry for the way I treated you. I never gave it to her. Because even now, I don't get bent out of shape that my ex don't want to talk to me. I was horrible. And all you have to do is read my book, guys. If you read From Gigolo to Jesus, you know what I was to my ex-wife. It was horrible. And so I can't fault her pain when I was the cause of it. So the best thing to do, and men, please listen, brothers that are watching, stop trying to heal the women that you hurt. If they want you to, they'll ask you, but leave it alone because it's very difficult to try to heal and get help from the person who hurt you. It is very hard. So do not be shocked when she pushes you away when you're now trying to make amends for what you did to her. Leave her alone. Let her figure it out. Just get her the help she needs, and it doesn't have to come from you. Organized churches hurt me more than once. Just left 2 Sundays ago. That is some deep pain. It is. And I'm going to tell you something, Michelle. You know what the problem is? More and more people are coming into an understanding of God, which is then affecting how they see people in church, because now they are seeing that their churches are as fraudulent as they are. And all of a sudden, the closer you get to God, the more man is exposed. And that's why people are leaving certain churches, because they just can't deal with the hypocrisy. There's a book I can give you. Hold on 1 second, because I got my iPad is off. Let me see if I can bring it up on my, I don't think I have Kindle on here. All right. But it's called Why People Don't Go to Church, I believe it is. I'll get you the title in a second. And it's actually an outstanding book that talks about why people ain't going to church anymore. And I found it to be a very good read. Let me see if I can find it. But, and these are the conversations we got to have, guys. Because if we're not having it, like now, tonight is a fantastic way to show the hypocrisy. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, Michelle, when people ask me what church you go to, I don't. And they go, you don't go to church? No, I don't. I am not officially affiliated with any church. And they go, but didn't you say you were a minister? My credentials of ministry is right there. My credentials of ministry is right there. And it's in good standing, too. Here it is right here. Keith Belvin has requested this letter of good standing. We acknowledge that the ordination is in good standing and is with the Universal Life Church Monastery, that we grant the authority to perform the sacrament of marriage. The ministers and credentials of ministry have no expiration date and have been verified in this day. So yes, I am ordained, if that matters to you. Do you think a man should ask for forgiveness if you hurt someone? Yes, I believe that. My father called my mother after 40 years of hurt before he died when he was married. Yes, because the Bible requires that we do so. I was thinking if a man asks for forgiveness, it will help the man or the woman. Your thoughts? It all depends. It may not help the woman because it may not matter that, it may not matter to her what he feels, but he still should offer. And the reason why he should offer simply because it's the right thing to do. It doesn't mean that she's going to accept it, and you don't force it. You just simply offer. And then you leave it alone. And the reason why you leave it alone is because, again, it is very difficult for you as the person that hurt somebody to then turn around and try to help them. You can't. Leave it alone. And just simply put it out there, and then pray for them. Pray that the Lord sends them somebody to help them with the pain you created. I pray for all of the mothers of my children. I pray for my ex-wife. I pray for all of the mothers of my children. Why? Because I don't want to see them in any type of pain. I don't want to see them in a bad way. Do we have relationships? Are we connected? Not at all. Not at all. And I don't talk to any of them. My son turns 21 in about 2 months. I'm down to my last 4 payments. Let's see, I just made one. I make one I just made one. It's the middle of the month. So, at that point, no. In the middle of January, that's my last payment. Am I calling her to say anything? No, I've already spoken to my son. I said, yo, bro, you know that January, that's it. But, you and I are good. PW. Talk to me, Cash. What's the PW? So do I. I had other deep opposites to comment to people, individuals, not the building. Got you. Okay, here's the title, guys. Let me give it to you right now if you want it. It's called Why, and somebody could put this in the chat for me, please. Okay, hold on one second. Somebody could put this in the chat. I'll repeat it in a second. There we go. Okay, it's Why Nobody Wants to Go to Church Anymore. Okay. Why? Okay, there we go. I'll find the link for you. But yeah, it's actually a good read. It's thick though. Hold on one second. Wants to go to church anymore. There we go. Okay. All right, there we go. Oh, there it is. Okay, let me get this here. I'll put the link. Thank you. Appreciate that, Tony. I'm going to get the link. I just found it. So I'm going to put the link in the what's name here if I can. Let me see. But yeah, that's the title of the book. Oh, I know, bro. Listen. I think this is why we have to share with each other, guys. And there, I just put the link in the group, so it should come up. It's actually a great read. And hypocrisy is one of the areas that it talks about. And here's my thing, all right? And this is very serious for me. Okay, because I talk about this on a regular, especially when it comes to church and other stuff, and leading back to the video. And again, I always want to make the connection to why we're actually on tonight. Now, rock with me, all you Bible scholars, all you Bible reader, all you children of God, all you folks in church, rock with me on this, and I'm going to show you how church, the physical body, embodiment, church, has failed, will fail, and is going to fail man. Okay. First thing I want you to understand is that the New Testament is not written in chronological order. So it's not written in order of dates. So you have to pay attention to that, because often we read it as we read the 4 Gospels, get into the Acts of the disciples, then get into all the other stuff, and we think it's written in order. It's not. So it's not in chronological order. That's the first thing you need to understand. So let's just do this. Now, you can go back and check on me, and if you don't have to believe me, it's no problem, but I'm going to rock out with you. Okay, here we go. The book is broken down into a couple different parts to help you understand how the church fails man. Jesus shows up in the 4 Gospels at the beginning of the New Testament. Jesus comes, and who does he criticize? Church folks. Who does he attack? Church folks. The Pharisees and the Sadducees. Says to him, you are not the descendants of Abraham, a man of God, because if you were, you would love me. You would know who I am. I am the embodiment of everything that you supposedly have been praying for. Now, what's very important, and again, this is why you got to study. The end of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament is 400 years. 400 years God did not speak to man. Well, if a father didn't talk to his children for 400 years, what is going to happen? They're going to do whatever the hell they want to do. So by the time Jesus shows up in the New Testament, men have been out of control for 400 years. Jesus shows up and is like, yo, what is this? And he gets at him. Now, he's doing wonders and he's doing all these incredible things. And he then says to them, This right here is not of my Father's doing. This right here is not what God wants from men of God. You're wrong. Now they start wilding out. They start trying to figure out ways to trick him up. They start trying to figure out ways that they can literally kill him. Now Nicodemus, one of the Pharisees, sneaks over at night. And he says to Jesus, me and some of the other low-wage brothers that's here, we quiet. We know you to be who you are. But you wilding out. And Jesus laughs and says, let me tell you something. Until a man is born again, he can never get into heaven. Now, if the church was important, he would have talked about the church that night. He didn't. He told Nicodemus, until a man is born again, he cannot get into heaven. So Nicodemus said, is a man supposed to go back into his mother and be born again? Jesus basically laughed at him again for being stupid. Your mind is supposed to change, and understand that you are supposed to change the way that you think, so that way everything that you do is about God itself, and then you will start to be able to put yourself in position to get into heaven. Boom. Now, Nicodemus goes back. Those same men killed Jesus. Church folks killed Jesus. Okay, we know the resurrection. We know he came back. We know what happened to the disciples. Okay, let's go through the rest of the New Testament. Paul is now converted. He writes all of these letters to churches. Why? Because they were out of control. The church of Ephesus, Ephesians, the church of Corinth, Corinthians, the church of Thessalonica, the Thessalonians, and I can keep going. Because they were all out of control. So let's keep going. Now we get to so the church is out of control in the middle of the book. So the church still ain't getting it. So let's keep going. All right, brother, be good. Great to see you. I hope to see you on Friday. We'll be here. So now that's the middle of the book. All these churches out of control, and Paul trying to do damage control by sending out all these letters. Okay, let's keep going. So now we get to Peter, we get to James, we get to John. These are folks who have walked with Jesus himself. And they're trying to give instruction on how you should live your life. Timothy, Titus, all these are instruction books. Timothy telling you how you should study. Titus telling you be leery of cats in the church because of how they are, how you should choose your leaders and be careful of what's coming out of people's mouths. Timothy tells you how the world is going to come to a point where cats is going to start believing in just themselves. Timothy actually says the time will come when men will stop listening. Will men become lovers of themselves and children will stop listening to their parents? Okay, keep it going. So now we see that up until Revelations, church is still failing man. Now let's go to Revelations, the final book, the revelations of Paul, the revelations of John, the end of the world. In chapter 2, 5 of the 7 churches had become carnal, which means they had embraced the flesh more than they did God. So again, let me show you something. The beginning of the Bible, Jesus shows up. What happens? Man kills him. He raises Paul up and tries to reshape the churches. Man doesn't listen. So by the time we get to Revelations, 5 of the 7 churches. Now, you could say the 7 churches represent the 7 types of language, the 7 types of people, the 7 continents. However you want to interpret that, you interpret it. But look at what's written. 5 of the 7 churches were carnal. Now, what does that mean? Now, pay attention. One of the churches was Nineveh. Now, why should that jump off the page at you? Go back to Jonah. Start of the Old Testament. Jonah was one of the start of the prophets who started to rebel against God. Nineveh was the church where 95,000 people turned their life around to the Lord. But by the time we get to the end of the Bible, they had fell off and became lukewarm. So they even stopped what their ancestors had done. So now we get to Revelations, churches still failing man. So what happens? The devil is out of control. The devil is running around rampant. Jesus now comes back. Not the lamb that we saw in the first 4 chapters. He comes back as a warrior. He comes back to now put this straight because he gave us a chance to do it. We failed at it. Now it's time for me to clean up, and now I'm going to show you who I really am. And when you read the rest of Revelations, you then start to realize that our job is to somehow be in that number, as the old saints say. And that's why if we get caught up and snatched up We did our job. Whew. We ain't got to do this. We ain't got to fight this. And the people that died in the Old Testament fighting the good fight, they get swept up too. The rest of us got to fight this nasty war that's going to be left here for us because church folks didn't do what they were supposed to do. So keep swearing by your church. Show me where Jesus rocks with a church. When it was church folks who killed him, and he has to come back at the end of the book to clean it all up. And then he says, a new Jerusalem. A new Jerusalem. So the church, as many of us know it, fails man. Because it was never designed that way. The church is where we go to fellowship. God is who we worship. Where's the lie? We have elevated pastors and a lot of other people who have learned some way to play with scriptures. And we've started to give our whole lives to them, more so than we do God himself. That's why Titus said, be careful. And the funny thing is that the island of Titus, the people that Titus is talking about, they were known liars. That's why Titus talked about that. They were known liars. So he gave you instructions on how to pay attention to certain cats who's fraudulent. Do we listen? Nope. Timothy, who studied under Paul. Do we listen? No. 1st and 2nd Timothy. Timothy actually tells you how to study. Tells you what's going to happen. Gives you a long list of all the things that people will become. But do we listen? No. Why? Because of this. The flesh. And we embrace the flesh because it feels tremendous. We embrace the flesh because it's what's enjoyable. God already said the path of righteousness is narrow, treacherous. Well, who wants to go on any journey that's narrow and treacherous? That's why I said be careful of how we judge what we see in the video, because we don't know. Because we're going to come from a point of view like we do with the flesh. They didn't listen to Noah. So everybody died except for 8 people. And that's another thing that we forget. God killed children too. But we tend to not worry about that because we haven't seen no floods. We haven't seen no mass deaths. But we just don't pay attention to them. And what we have to do is on social media, if you have a platform, why are you not sharing your story? Why are you not allowing people to understand what you've been through and then pointing them in the direction of God? Oh my God, how did you get through being raped? God. How did you get through domestic violence? God. How did you get through banging all those women? God. How did you get through all that yelling and screaming and lying that you was doing? God. Because once you put God's name on it, if you're lying, you got to deal with them. I don't want that smoke. But what happens when you start to share it and you start to say what your role is as a father, like my man Cash. Cash talks about his maturity. I've watched it. Cash is part of the reason why I got my 2nd master's degree, because I was struggling at first. It was Cash, a younger man than me, who said, big dog, you're an intelligent dude, but you got to get out your own head and get out your own way. He said, because you cannot come to the table as an educated man trying to get educated by somebody else. You got to come to the table as a student and let the teachers do what they do and calm yourself down so you can get through. Once he told me that, and I absorbed that, and I respected that, grades went right back to where they were supposed to, and I rocked out like I was supposed to, because I had respect for another brother who came to me because he had already shared with me what he was doing. We were joking, 2 master's degree Cash. And because he gave his testimony about what he was trying to do, so why wouldn't I listen to him? Because he's already been through it. And all of you here on this call have been through something that you need to be sharing with the people that are on your page. I share because you guys are here. And because I know somebody that's going to come back and watch this in replay is going to say, that's why I'm here. And that's why the title of this group is Unapologetically Keith. I don't apologize for nothing that I was. I was. I'm not that now. That's what makes it very hard for me to judge anybody without all the information, because I go through it on a regular. But what I want to challenge each and every one of you to do is to take some of the subjects that we talk about in here, bring them to your circles. Challenge the people in your circles to elevate their thinking. We have some great conversations here. So first of all, let me tip my hat to you guys in here, because you guys are great. I go back and listen and watch some of the shows. All right, baby. Have a good night, Jacqueline. That's a true friend right there. I have the utmost love for that young lady right there. I love Jackie to death, because she shows me what a real friend looks like. And I've never had a woman closer to, other than my wife, I've never had a woman that good a friend to me as Jacqueline. It's been 35 years. I think. 35? Yeah, 35 years. We've been connected to each other. And so what I'm saying to you is, all of you, on whatever level, we can't worry about who it gets to. Stephen, who got stoned, still changed lives. Why? Paul, who was Saul, was standing there when he got stoned. He was the one holding the coat to the dudes who stoned him. Gotcha. And I think it's very important. And I love that right there, Kim. I love that you guys are talking with each other. I love that you guys are connecting with each other. Now, if I can get the brothers to come here and share with you, but here's the funny thing, and I'm going to let y'all in on something. I don't focus on dudes. That's not my target audience. If they want this, I'm here for them. But my target audience is you ladies. Because if I can protect you, and if I can bring some lights to some of the things that us men are about, I did my job. And then the dudes that come, that's my secondary market, if you want to look at it as such. Is that because then dudes actually show up because my lady told me I should call you. Yo, my girlfriend said, yo, you the dude to talk to. I need to know what's going on. Then they read from Gigolo to Jesus and they're like, oh, yo, son, we got to talk. Yo, your wife know about this book? Yeah, my wife wrote it. She wrote the forward in it. And yeah, Michelle has a Bible study group on Wednesday. So if you guys want to check out, and we have a couple other folks, Maggie, who's not here, she has her BOW Ministries. I have a Bible study group. If you guys want to join, just reach out. I'll send you an invite. We have Pastor Sandy does a show every Sunday, I believe, with her husband on Zoom or one of the platforms. But I want you guys to link up, because that's part of it too, is that we're supposed to link up. We're supposed to connect with each other, because that's how we build a stronger kingdom. Because remember, the book shows that all this is going to come to some crazy ending. And there's going to be a war with evil in the driver's seat. And a lot of people are going to lose their lives to the evilness that's in the world. The Bible says that. It just doesn't tell us how. This virus might be part of it. I don't know. But here's what I take from everything that's going on around me. One, my job is to stay alive the best I can. Two, I trust that all the people ain't getting wiped out, because Jesus has to have a world to come back to. So I need to be in that number. So I do everything I can to stay alive. If that means sitting my butt in this house, I sit right here in this house. I don't miss bowl. I miss bowling, but not that much that I'm going to go out here and put my life on the line to bowl. No. Do I miss going to the movies? I wasn't going to movies that much beforehand. I miss taking my daughter to the park, and I miss some of those things like that. But at the end of the day, as I tell her, we're safe. And I stay connected to the Lord. And I sit in here and I create. And I try to help others from right here. It's going to be way worse. Well, no, it's not going to. I can't say it's going to be way worse. It's going to be difficult, but everybody on the planet died in Noah's day. So I don't think it's going to be that bad, but it's going to be bad tomorrow. And I think if we read Timothy and if we read the books of Revelation, it's going to get very difficult. But the real question is, what are we doing to prepare? How are we helping each other? How are we stabilizing each other? How are we helping each other get through? How are we helping each other deal with the mental aspects of everything that's going on. How do we help each other to make it through these very difficult times when people around us are dying in record numbers? What do we do? And that's what's very important, is that we have to, this is why I show up. I make sure I'm here every Wednesday and every Friday. I had to cut Monday because of the way my schedule is. But the reason why I make sure I show those replays, Tuesday, Saturday, date night, I'm on Zoom calls. There you go. A few days with hubby, but I'm going to make time. There you go. And this is what we have to do, guys, is that some things are not going to be comfortable. It was tough for me to decide not to come on Monday. So then my thing is, when I come on Wednesday, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to jump off at 10:30. I stay on if the conversation is jumping, which I know it will, so I stay on. And it's very important because we have to make a difference in the circles that we travel. I don't look to try to save 7.4 billion people. That's the number of people on the planet. What I try to do is affect the people in my circles. And I think it's very important. Like Claudine, I connected her to Michelle, and I connect folks on a regular because I want folks to connect. I want folks to make money together. I don't care if I don't have anything to do with it. I don't worry about that. I stopped worrying about that years ago. I found that I don't do with the idea that I better get back. I do because God would have me do. And then I trust that the Lord is going to bless me in some form or fashion by helping others. And I leave it alone. All I do is connect them and let them do what they do. Okay, yeah. I show the replays on Monday. I don't do Mondays anymore. This is important, been a blessing. And you know what? And that's why I do it, Tony, because I see it. I see the pain. And that's why you see my new hashtag that says, bring me your pain. I tell people no more. Okay, I got you. I will connect to my book. Okay, got you. I see the pain. So I tell people, my hashtag is bring me your pain. Bring me your pain. And I explain what that means. Okay, I got you. Yeah. And I do have a Bible study group. I make it very simple. I don't put any pressure on folks. You study at your own pace. Right now I'm using the Bible app. And so I'm taking a couple of the reading plans and I'm shifting them from where I get them and bringing them to my Bible study group. Oh, appreciate you, T to the Y. Have a good one, brother. Oh, listen, you know the doors is always open to you, brother. I appreciate you because this is what we do here, man. It's to help each other grow in a non-judgmental way so we can all take something from it. And I just pray that you guys are getting something from it each time you come by. I try to make it interesting. This is my ministry, man. I try to bring something to the table. And when Tiff is with me on Friday, we're just in our natural environment. And this is what we're trying to do on a regular. I'm trying to create where Tiff doesn't have to work for somebody else. We're building our own platforms. We have some things in place, but we're working on it now. The webinars that we're going to do are going to be like this, but now we can climb into a subject where we're going to be looking to teach. Where we're going to be looking to show folks how to get through certain things, how to deal with certain things. And those webinars for that hour and a half, whatever it's going to be, are going to be designed for that. Because if you're paying for that, we got to make sure of that. So it's not going to be games. It's going to be structured. And it's going to be, let's get to the learning. Let's get to when you get off from our webinar, you have something that you can take back home with you and go, let me start this tomorrow. And as well as the 2 courses. And so I'm actually moving away from my publishing because I'm going to create a course for the publishing and it'll be there for people that need it. And then if they've gone through my course and they still need help, well, then I'm here for the consultation. So right now I'm still talking to some folks. It's crazy listening to you break down the ministry aside from the church. It's very interesting, especially based on the climate of the world. But yes, without question, Cash, but that's what I do because, well, Cash, come on. You know me, Cash. You know with everything that was going on at the bowling alley, I was always off to the side for good and bad reasons. Because I was able to see more than a lot of cats, do more than a lot of cats, but I was always there to help brothers and sisters, and they knew it. And for me now, this is what I do for a living. This is what I chose to do with my life. Good night, Tamari. Well, you know what it is? You're already a pastor. If you're sharing the word, bro, you're a pastor. It's a lay pastor. But you don't have to get caught up in Well, do I got to go through this church, do whatever? Just study the word and make sure that all your talents can show what God is doing in the word. Good night, Tamara. I appreciate you. See you on Friday, love. We're talking about why men won't commit to marriage. Cash and my wife have been talking about this, so we're going to talk about that on Friday, why men won't make that commitment. I know she's ready to have that conversation. But if you were committed to it, commit to it. Don't stress what other people do. Just simply become a reader, a studier, and a way to put the word out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you for that, man. Yes, sir. And that's that's what we're supposed to do, brother. Because at the end of the day, certain people whose ear you have, they may not hear me, but they'll hear you. And so when they hear it from you, and then they happen to hear it from me, whoa, Big Dog was saying the same thing. Maybe I need to listen. And all of a sudden that door opens up where cats come and go. So Cash, let me ask you a question, because I heard Big Dog say the same thing. Yo, you on this church thing? No, I'm in getting closer to God. I don't know what you mean the church thing, but you're having the conversations, brother. That's what we got to do. And now all that education comes because now you have various ways to be able to open up doors to people to make them feel comfortable to have difficult conversations with you. And that's what we all have to do. Everybody here. Everybody here. Everybody in this group. I don't stress whether they come in for the show or not. I just do the show. I can look at the numbers and know that people come and watch the replays who don't come in and talk in here. And that's okay. The goal is to have it here. I don't know how many days God is going to give me. I'm praying for a long time. But I want to leave enough here that my daughter knows what her father was. Now, hopefully, she will learn from firsthand experience. But I have to make sure that I do the things necessary. Be who I say I am. And that's hard enough. And so when you decide to work, when a person decides to work for themselves like I have, and you trust that God is going to open the doors necessary, but I still got to do the work, listen, that's what it's about right now. I don't work for anybody. I work for myself. Do I make less money than I did at the Department of Education in New York City? Yes, I do. But I have a peace that I don't have to stress somebody else. And I'm okay. But I had to let certain things about money go too, because I don't have it like that. But what I found is that other things, and the crazy part is that by deciding to work for myself and taking less, put me in a position that I now didn't have to be exposed to COVID and have not missed any checks when 1 million+ people have lost work. And that's frightening. And it's going to get worse because we got holidays coming up and people are now going to miss Thanksgiving for the first time in their life or not have somebody that they care about. And I'm going to talk about that. Next Friday is Q&A. But I think the following Friday, we're going to talk about I'm going to talk about it on Wednesday. I'm not sure. I might do it the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, is just talk about people's mental states going into the holidays. And then Tiff and I are doing the Q&A the day after Thanksgiving. Black Friday is going to be Red Friday. It's going to be hot up in here because we're going to do a Q&A. Any questions that you have, we're going to answer everything. At that point, it's a no judgment zone. If we ain't got the answers, I'm sure somebody in the group will. But listen, guys, I'm going to get ready to sign off, and I want to say to you, thank you. And if you're watching on replay and you got this far, thank you. Just stay tuned to the things that Tiff and I are creating, the things that I'm creating. Share, bring as many people over that need to be here. If they haven't read the book, tell them to read the books. We're creating products that people are going to enjoy because we have to. It makes no sense creating products in these difficult times and not make them of value when people are struggling. And we're going to make them affordable too, because it has to be about the message. It can't be about the money. And God will take care of everything else. God will make it land wherever it's supposed to land. You're welcome, Tony. And I appreciate you. And thank you for sharing. You've been a motivation to me because anytime I think of ladies who have gone through something, you're part of the women that I try to help and to protect. So thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for allowing your story to be heard. And thank you for the lives that you're saving just by being you, just by going through what you went through and then being able to talk about it is helping somebody who's suffering in silence and can't. There's some women out there right now who cannot speak about what happened to them when they had the same thing happen to them that happened to you. So you're helping people whether you know it or not. Same thing with you, Michelle. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right. So listen, guys, we're going to get ready to go. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I will see you on Friday. You can always post your thoughts in the group. I'm going to ask a couple other questions, but I appreciate you being here. If you're not in my Bible study group and you want to join, just hit me up with a private message. No, listen, we appreciate that. Here's what I tell you. Here's what I tell anybody. Just keep our names out there. Just keep letting folks know what we do. That's all we can ask. You, Kim, Michelle, you guys have been tremendous. Just keep letting folks know what we do. Let folks know we're here. If they can find us, it'll take care of itself. God will make a way. God will make a way. Trust me. Trust me. He'll make a way for all of us. That's why we're connected. If I just happen to be the shepherd, I'll be the shepherd. Just let folks know where the shepherd's at. If they lost, if they need somewhere, if their church hurt, come on over here. Come on. And I got a Bible study group for them too. And if they're not really comfortable talking to a man, we got Michelle, we got Maggie. Maggie's her own survivor. We got survivors in here. And I'm going to respect that and protect that in any way possible. So just keep my name out there. And I'll keep this light on for anybody that shows up in whatever form they show up in. We ain't passing no judgment. I don't care what you did. You could have just got off the stroll 10 minutes ago. If you're here, you're protected. Got you. Okay? But I definitely appreciate you. Hugs and love to all of you. I thank you. You make me, I get excited when I'm going to show up because I don't know what's going to be said in the chat room. I see the men get scared off. You see they watch, but they don't say nothing. They're here because I can show you the numbers. The guys are here. They nervous because they know there's a lot of women here. But some of the men is just kind of hanging out in the background like. But it's okay. The men that we have here are pretty good. And I love the balance. And so we're going to have some fun on Friday. This is what it is. But please stay safe. Please be smart. This virus is bad. Thank you, Dana. And I appreciate you being here. Yes. Oh, congratulations. Okay. Congratulations on the studying. All right. Get that. Is this the first one or a second one? Your MBA. Is this your first master's or have you other graduate degrees, Dana? Tell him, Tony. Don't be scared. Come on. We need to hear from you. I think what happens is, the reason why they're scared, Tony, is because they know if they come with some weakness, they're going to get exposed. And I think so often men are used to having somebody that will cover. Okay, congratulations. Listen, you got this. How far are you from graduating, Dana? How much longer you got to go? And good night, Tony. Good night. I've been drinking so much water, it's ridiculous. Gotta flush out all these toxins. All right, guys, let me get off here. Go check on the wife. I know the daughter's asleep. Yes, congratulations. Definitely. Love it. All right, guys, good night. And again, thank you. Spring 21, you got this. You're going to be able to tell everybody that you got your master's degree during COVID. Do you know what kind of story that's going to create when you are going on interviews? 2 more classes. Come on, rock out. I know what that's like. But do you understand what type of story you're going to have to tell when you go out to look for jobs or go out and create for yourself that you can say, I got this done amongst a COVID pandemic? That's like when Tiff and I got married and we had to deal with Hurricane Dean on our honeymoon. Trust me. You keep pushing. If you need some prayer, let us know. We're going to pray for you. Okay? But you keep pushing. You got this. But that's going to be an incredible story. When people start saying, oh my God, 2020 was horrible and so many people died, you're going to be like, I know, and I had to push through that to get my graduate degree. You know what an employer's going to go? Really? I need her on the team. Or when you go out here and try to get some funding and somebody says, well, why should I lend you money, Dana? Well, because during 2020, when everybody was struggling, I got a master's degree, so I could be right here. Okay, where do we sign? You got something going there, so we wish you luck. Okay, where at? Oh, you work? Okay, university? What you do? I love that. That's something I always wanted to do, but get turned away. That's something I have been trying to do to become an adjunct. I have 2 master's degrees, and I cannot get a college to hire me. That's how I knew the Lord wanted me to work for myself. Every university, college, community college I applied to, they'd be like, no. 120 applications I submitted to various educational platforms since November of 2015, and I only went on 6 interviews. And never got a job offer in any of the interviews in the educational arena. University of Houston. Wow, congrats. Cougars, right? Houston Cougars, I believe, right? Unless their name, I believe. University of Houston Cougars, I believe they're the Cougars. Oh my gosh. One of the legendary schools from the Big Ten, I believe, right? Yeah. University of Houston is part of the Big Ten. No, that's Texas. I think Houston, no. That's the Big Sky, I believe. I want to teach English as a second language. Oh, yes, yes. And with the influx of folks that we're going to have here with the new administration coming in, you are in the right position. Yes, yes, yes. Well, if you have any tips for me of what I could do to try to get into higher education that would allow folks to look at what I do, I would love it, because I'm no longer looking and working with the young ones. I did that for 20 years between my ministry. That is something that I'm trying to do. I did go to the University of Liberty, far right university, D1. I did it because I wanted people, when they look at the application, to go, Liberty, oh, he must be a Trump supporter. No, I'm not. But if I get through the door, think what you want. But congrats, though. And good luck with that. If there's anything that we can help with, just let the group know. We'll definitely be praying for you. Got this. And any tips, anything like that, post them in the group. Or definitely hit me up and let me know. If you say, think about this, consider this, I will definitely listen. And we definitely have some folks that would definitely want to hear from you. But go study. I'm going to jump off. Blessings to you. If there's anything that I can help with, just reach out and we'll definitely talk. See you on Friday if you can make it. All right? Have a good night, love. Take care. God bless.